So I'm going to blend these for 2 minutes. And I set a timer on my microwave here for 2 minutes. And I hit they've been blending for 2 minutes. Alright, now you can probably hear me. They've been blending for 2 minutes. As you can see, now the blender is full to the top, okay? Because of all the air that it puts in them. And I'll just show you what the blended egg looks like. Okay? Don't drink that. That's raw egg. You don't want to do that, okay? So I'm going to bring them over to the dehydrator. Over here. This is my dehydrator. And I'm going to pour them. You need to have these, what they call fruit leather sheets. Okay? Alright, so now I'm about to pour this into this sheet here. I try to fill it up pretty good. Okay, I'm going to fill this one up now. I'm going to get my sheet here centered as much as I can. Okay. Tray 2. Okay, this is tray 3. Tray 3. Okay, now this is going to be tray 4. And this is tray 5. So I'm just going to start over here. That's 2 dozen eggs in the dehydrator. Now I just need to put the lid on and turn it on. So now the lid is on. And there they go. Some dehydrating eggs. I'll be making powdered eggs. Once they're done, I break them up, put them in my coffee grinder, grind them into a powder. Alright, we're back. So these eggs have been in the dehydrator for about 48 hours now. My dehydrator works slow. I've heard some people say that, they'll dry in 8 to 10 hours. Well, not with this dehydrator. They will not. But I'm going to go ahead and turn them off and let you see where they are right now. And I'm going to check them and make sure everything's dry. Any that are not dry, and there may be some that aren't completely dry. If they're not completely dry, well, then I have to take them and put them back in here. But I'm going to check. You'll see that's pretty hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tray right here, this little thing, and I've got a bowl here, and I'm going to pour this dried egg in this bowl. So any of the egg that doesn't come off, just grab a butter knife and just kind of gently scrape it, and it should come right off. You'll see it's nice and dry here. So get all that into the bowl. I'm holding the camera with one hand. So I'm going to do that for the rest of these trays. See? Nice and dry here. This is what it looks like. I've heard some people say, well, it looks kind of like peanut brittle. I guess it does, a little bit. Again, if it doesn't come right off, scrape it a little bit and get it off. Now what I'm going to do, you'll notice, see a little bit of the wetness still there? Okay, so that's not really what I want. I want it to be completely dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the dry parts, as much of the dry parts as I can, put them in this bowl, and then I will put what is not dry. I'll powder this up in a minute using my coffee grinder, and then I'll put what's left back in the dehydrator and let it go overnight again, so it's bone dry before I package it. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here, and I'm going to do the other trays. Okay, so what we have here is, that's 2 dozen eggs off of my dehydrator. I've emptied all the trays into this bowl. Now I'm going to get my coffee grinder, and I'm going to grind this up into a powder, and I'll show you that. Let me pause. Alright, so here's my coffee grinder here. I'm going to take the lid off. I'm going to get a spoonful of this. This is a large spoon. And I'm going to just put it in here. Okay? See what I'm doing here? I got a spoonful, and I'm just going to pour it into the coffee grinder. That ought to be enough right there to get started. Put the lid on, and do this. You'll see now that that is a powder. Okay? So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to dump it back on this sheet here. Once it's been powdered, I run it through one more time. So I'm going to do that with a little bit of this stuff here. You'll have to forgive the poor camera work. I'm doing this, I'm holding the camera with one hand and I'm doing this part with the other hand. Now I'm just going to take it and kind of spread it out on the dehydrator sheet. So it's a thin layer, just to make it easier for the dehydrator to finish drying it, because I want it to be bone dry. And it's dry. It's pretty dry right now. But believe it or not, there's still a little bit of moisture in here. And we want it to be gone. So, alright, so I'm going to pause and I'm going to do the rest of this, and I'll show you what we got in a minute. Okay, I'm almost done powdering these eggs. One thing I do want to show you is that when you do this, my coffee grinder will sometimes, you'll see it start gathering on the side there. Just get a knife or something, and just scrape it off. That's again proof that there's still a little bit of moisture in here. If this was completely dry, I don't believe that it would stick to the sides like that. I mean, it's pretty dry, as you can see. This is what the powder looks like. But yet and still. And yes, I know I'm making a mess. But do that. Scrape that off of there. And then pour that on your sheet too. And then once you've got it on your sheet, then spread it thin. This is what I do. I spread it out over the sheet. This is the last tray that I'm doing, so I won't have enough to completely fill this sheet. But I just want it to spread thin. Why? Because that helps it to dry. The thinner it is, the easier it is for it to dry out. Okay? So I'm going to finish with this stuff. And we're going to get this going again. And I'll let this go. I'll go ahead and let it go overnight. It can't be too dry, so I'll let it go overnight. And then I'll be done with this batch. Alright, now I'm going to finish up. This powdered egg here has been drying overnight. And I just need to turn it off. Take the top off. And it is completely dry. Good look at that. Alright, so you want to look in here. That's what it looks like. That's 2 dozen eggs powdered. Okay. South Carolina gold right there.